Sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast. I hope you guys like that little run of basketball and hockey there. I always love it. Potentially the last time we ever do it. It's kind of a bittersweet moment for that. But we are going to be transitioning to the European Championships and kind of giving you guys a recap of what happened over the weekend and on Friday in the opening game between Germany and Scotland to kind of round out this segment here. And so let's just get right into it. We had a fantastic crop of games for this tournament. It should be very fantastic and exciting to see how this exciting group of players performed these past couple of days. We had a lot of interesting teams, a lot of young talent, whether it be breakout stars or guys we've always already talked about. I think that what this showed is how versatile and volatile the Euros can be. And so let's start out, without further ado, on Friday when Germany faced Scotland. They didn't just face Scotland, they dominated Scotland. This was a huge beatdown in every single facet of the game for Germany. Just the movement was incredible. The way they play was incredible. They got this fantastically right. I know in previous tournaments, as a Germany fan, I can attest to the fact that we never seem to get off on the right foot. And so I was just so happy to see all these different players interconnected, knowing the game plan, knowing the identity, and wanting to show up and show out for this talented German squad and their German supporters as well. Let's start off with two youngsters who are probably going to be the face of this German squad if they make it this far into the tournament. Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz. Jamal Musiala, man of the match performance. Just an incredible athlete. Combining with his partner in crime, Florian Wirtz, they are going to be a dynamic duo in this tournament should Germany keep this level of play up. They were so dominant, their movement off the ball, allowing midfielders like Kroos and Gundogan to just pick apart this defense with different passes. Their runs in behind, they were just confusing and befuddling the Scottish back line to the point where Scotland completely fell apart. They just got silly and ultimately they ran roughshod over this team. And so just the level of how this team plays always should center around Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz. They are the focal points, in my opinion, for this German attack. And so without further ado, let's just recap the stats for them here. Musiala, 1 goal inside the box, unfortunately not outside the box because it would have gotten you a little bit more points. But 1 goal, just fantastic dribbler, 4 successful dribbles in this game. 100% pass accuracy from Jamal Musiala. So just an incredible player, man of the match performance, like I said. So if you had him as a captain, he would have gotten you at least 15 to 20 fantasy points. And then his partner in crime, Florian Wirtz, 1 goal outside the area, so that definitely gets you a lot more points from him. Just an overall fantastic performance that really set the tone for the German midfield and the excitability of the future of how it might look. And so, thinking about how, going forward, this team kind of sets up, I just feel as if these two players are just getting started. Obviously, who knows what they're going to look like come the Hungary game. Hungary and Switzerland are two huge tests, even though there are on the smaller side of things in terms of their rankings. But Germany should feel very good about this performance, and I'm just happy that those two were the focal points of their performances. Now let's move on to the weekend slate of games, where you had a huge marquee match between Spain and Croatia. Obviously, both teams in prior tournaments going very far, using their golden generations to fantastic use. But Spain, ultimately, with one of the more dominant performances against a side who people expect to be there in Croatia, their golden generation, mixing in a little bit of youth as well, was just ultimately so pivotal to how they were able to advance in previous tournaments. But let's just talk about how Spain was able to show their dominance, show their intensity, show their metronomic ability to pick teams apart, whether it be through tiki-taka or now that they have electric wingers through that outlet of the wing. And so I just want to highlight a couple of key stars. But before we go into their wingers, let's talk about a defender who's in a really purple patch. How about Dani Carvajal? Just an absolutely astonishing performance from him. He was just confusing and confounding this overall dynamic Croatian side. They had nowhere to go. They just looked befuddled, and Carvajal ultimately was a huge part of that. Just being that slippery presence in the box, whether it be on set pieces, on corners. Not the tallest guy on the pitch, but he proves his might. He adds to his Champions League goal tally. And now he scored in the European Championships to really help the Spanish side get off on the right foot in that tough group. And then, I just want to highlight this young man. 16 years old, youngest ever player to play at a Euros. Just absolutely confounding on the wing. And this is a Croatian defense that was really high on this tournament. A lot of youth to kind of transition from guys like Domagoj Vida to now guys like Josko Gvardiol and Josip Stanisic. Lamine Yamal, at 16 years of age, just confusing and confounding. A player above his years, just producing on the stage. 1 assist, 5 successful dribbles. He really catches the eye. And if he plays like this throughout the tournament, he could be a fun person to roster for you guys in your Euros fantasy squads as Spain progresses to the knockout stages. Just a really, really, really intriguing option for Spain on the wing because of the fact that Spain are more known for passing through their midfield, playing out the back, using those intricate passing patterns to set something up, hopefully in the box. But Yamal now gives you that guy on the wing who just whip a ball in, cut and shoot, dribble past defenders, and he just really is a pleasing player to watch right now. Now let's transition to more of the other games that happened as well. Specifically, in another tough group with Netherlands, France, Austria, and Poland. The Netherlands played the Poles. 2-1 game, much harder game than the Netherlands did expect. A very heartfelt and spirited Polish performance, sans Robert Lewandowski out with injury. But it just goes to show that even in a group where you're not seen as the favorite, you can definitely play up to these other teams' levels. And I'm just really happy that Poland were able to get to do that because of the fact that not many people were expecting them to compete in this game, let alone in this tournament. And so to show that spirit against a Netherlands side that really was struggling to find an identity in this game, just goes to show how fantastic they were. But on the Netherlands side of things, I do want to highlight a guy who does not get enough love. And that is Nathan Ake. He kind of goes under the radar in that Manchester City defense for Pep Guardiola, not necessarily used as much as other players in the squad. But overall, I do feel as if he should get a lot more attention due to the fact that right now, as of right now, in that backline with Virgil van Dijk, he really gets bolstered. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk gets a lot of the headlines in this Dutch defense. But now that Nathan Ake is seen as the kind of centrifugal force rather than Matthijs de Ligt, he has the opportunity to progress with the pitch, show his talent, because I do think he is one of those guys at the center back position who really is revolutionizing the position, along with Virgil van Dijk. 2 assists for Nathan Ake in this game. Just a fantastically metronomic presence in the back of that line. But on the Polish side of things, obviously I talked about how much spirit they were able to deliver to that back line. And just ultimately rally around the fact that they obviously had nothing to play for in this game, and they just wanted to set up and show out. And Piotr Zielinski, man, I know that Robert Lewandowski has gotten all the attention for this Polish golden generation, but Zielinski deserves just as much flowers for that because of the fact of his skill and his prowess on and off the ball. 1 assist in this game off a corner. He took 2 corners, so look out for him as a set-piece specialist getting those assists. should Poland score more goals in this tournament, but I just feel like he's a very fun player. Ultimately, the reason why Poland was able to stick around in this game much longer than expected. But overall, I'm really happy I got to dissect these weekend games in the Euros as it starts up. Just seeing all this talent, young or old, experienced or inexperienced, with a guy like Yamal, I'm just really happy I get to talk about these players for you guys. But that will just about do it for this segment. Coming up in the next segment of today's show, we'll be looking at the fantasy basketball risers and fallers from this past season. Obviously, as finals hype winds down, you guys might want to be more in tune with the upcoming fantasy basketball season, so stick around for that segment.